The Calthene survey fleet remained in orbit around Earth for 30 more days. Teams explored every continent, every major city, every significant location marked in the archives. They documented everything, creating a comprehensive record of humanity's abandoned homeworld. Commander Vexthar spent most of his time in the Montana Archive facility. There was something peaceful about the place despite being underground. The gentle hum of machinery, the soft glow of displays, the presence of so much preserved knowledge. It felt like a library, a temple, and a memorial all at once. On the final day before departure, Vexthar stood alone in the central chamber where Dr. Lisa Coleman's message had first played. He activated the recording one more time, watching her explain humanity's choice with that mixture of sadness and determination. "You were brave," he said aloud when the message ended, speaking to a woman who had died centuries ago. "You and all your people. You were brave and foolish and magnificent." Officer Thane entered the chamber quietly. "The fleet is ready for departure, Commander. All teams have returned to their ships. We have completed our documentation." Vexthar nodded but did not move immediately. "What do you think happened to them, Thane? Out there in the darkness? Did they succeed?" Thane considered the question carefully. The mathematics suggest they should have. The technology was sound. The planning was thorough. The resources were adequate. If any species could establish successful colonies in unexplored space, humans could. But, Vexthar heard the hesitation in her voice. "But space is dangerous," Thane admitted. "Unknown systems might have hazards they could not anticipate. Hostile species, cosmic disasters, internal conflicts. 300 cycles is a long time."
Anything could have happened. Vexthar turned to face her.
"Do you believe they failed?" Thane met his gaze steadily. "No, Commander. I believe they succeeded beyond their own expectations. I have studied their history, their culture, their psychology. Humans do not give up easily. They adapt. They overcome. They persist. If even half their colonies survived, that is still billions of humans spread across dozens of worlds. That is an empire by any definition." "An empire the Coalition knows nothing about," Vexthar said quietly. It was the central problem they now faced. Humanity had been expanding for 3 centuries, completely outside Coalition awareness or oversight. They might have encountered other species, made alliances or enemies, developed technologies the Coalition had never seen. They were a complete unknown. "We need to find them," Vexthar decided. "The Coalition needs to know what humanity became. We need to make contact properly this time." "That could take decades," Thane pointed out, following their route into unexplored space, searching 40 star systems, investigating colony sites. "And they may have expanded beyond their original targets." "I know," Vexthar said, "but it is necessary. We cannot leave this mystery unsolved. The Coalition deserves to know what happened to Earth's people." They left the archive facility and returned to the landing craft. As they ascended through Earth's atmosphere one final time, Vexthar looked down at the continents passing below. Cities still stood, monuments to a civilization that had chosen the stars over safety. Back on his command ship, Vexthar assembled his senior officers for a final briefing. He stood before them in the conference room, feeling the weight of what he was about to propose. "I am recommending to Coalition High Command that we mount an expedition into the regions where humanity established colonies," he announced. "A proper exploration mission, not just a survey. We need to find out what happened to them." Officer Drake spoke up. "Commander, that region of space is vast. It could take 50 cycles or more to search thoroughly. The Coalition may not approve such an extended mission. They will approve it when they understand what we found here," Vexthar said firmly. "A species that achieved faster than light travel independently. A civilization that evacuated 9 billion people in an organized exodus. An empire that has been growing for 3 centuries without Coalition knowledge. This is not a simple first contact situation anymore. This is a potential major power that we need to understand." He pulled up the star chart showing humanity's projected route. "Look at this carefully. The humans went toward the galactic rim. That is a region where Coalition presence is minimal. There are resources there. Habitable worlds. Room for expansion. If humanity succeeded, they are sitting on territory the Coalition might want someday. We need to know if that territory is already claimed." Kresh raised a hand. "What if they do not want contact? What if they left specifically to avoid the Coalition? Then we respect that, Vexthar said. But we still need to know. We need to establish communication, even if only to agree on boundaries and mutual non-interference. Ignorance is not an option. The officers discussed the proposal for another hour, but ultimately everyone agreed. This was too important to ignore. Earth had revealed a mystery that demanded resolution. Vexthar spent the next several days composing his official report to Coalition High Command. He chose his words carefully, trying to convey both the wonder and the concern he felt. He included all the data they had gathered, all the archives they had copied, all the messages humans had left behind. He ended his report with a personal recommendation. When the Coalition encounters humanity, we must approach them as equals. They have proven themselves capable of surviving and thriving without our guidance. They have established an independent civilization through their own efforts and ingenuity. To treat them as a young species needing supervision would be both inaccurate and insulting. I recommend full diplomatic status and immediate recognition of their territorial claims, pending verification of those claims through peaceful contact. It was a bold recommendation. Most new species spent centuries under Coalition mentorship before being granted full status. But humanity was not most species. They had skipped that entire process and gone straight to empire building. As the fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit, Vexthar took one last look at the blue and green world. It was beautiful, even empty. Perhaps especially empty. There was a haunting quality to it now, like a grand stage after the actors had left. Set course for the first target system on humanity's colony route, he ordered. Maximum speed. We have 300 cycles of history to catch up on. The fleet engaged their drives and began the long journey away from Earth. Behind them, automated systems in the Montana archive continued their patient work, preserving knowledge and waiting for the next visitors who might never come. But Vexthar was not thinking about Earth anymore. He was thinking about what lay ahead. Somewhere out in the darkness, humanity was building something. Cities on alien worlds, ships sailing between stars, children born who had never seen Earth, who knew it only as ancient history. 300 cycles of growth meant 300 cycles of change. The humans who left Earth would be ancestors now, stories told by their great-great-grandchildren. Human culture would have evolved, adapted to new environments and new challenges. They might be completely different from the people who had recorded those messages in the archive, or they might be exactly the same, bold, curious, driven by dreams of what lay beyond the next. Horizon Officer Mitchell approached Vexthar's station. Commander, I have been thinking about something. If humans have been expanding for 300 cycles, and if they maintained their population growth rates and if they continued developing technology at their historic pace, they might be more advanced than us now. Vexthar had considered this possibility. It was unsettling but plausible. Humanity had already demonstrated the ability to innovate rapidly. 3 centuries of focused development could produce remarkable results. Then we approach with caution and respect, Vexthar said. We come as explorers and diplomats, not as supervisors or teachers. We acknowledge what they have accomplished and seek mutual understanding. And if they do not want the Coalition to know where their colonies are, Mitchell pressed, if they see us as a threat to their independence, then we prove we are not, Vexthar said simply. We prove that the Coalition can be trusted, that we respect boundaries and honor choices, that we came looking not to conquer or control, but to understand and connect. The fleet traveled for weeks, leaving Earth far behind. Vexthar spent his time reviewing the human archives, learning everything he could about the species he sought. Their history fascinated him. Their art moved him. Their music stirred emotions he did not know he possessed. He read their literature, stories of exploration and adventure, tales of individuals standing against impossible odds, narratives about hope persisting in the darkest times. Humans told themselves stories about who they wanted to be and then worked to become those stories. They were dreamers, but they were also doers. They did not just imagine better futures. They built them. One evening, if evening had meaning in the perpetual day of space travel, Vexthar found a human poem in the archives. It had been written by someone named Dylan Thomas centuries before the Exodus. The words struck him deeply. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. That was humanity in a handful of words. They did not accept limits. They did not surrender to fate. They raged against every boundary, every limitation. Commander Vexthar watched Dr. Lisa Coleman's message 3 times before he spoke. His command crew stood silent around him in the archive facility beneath the Montana mountains. The recording had been transmitted from the surface team hours ago, but seeing it in person made it feel more real, more impossible. How advanced was their faster-than-light technology? Vexthar finally asked. Science Officer Thane pulled up technical specifications on a nearby display. The archive had willingly given up its secrets once they learned how to navigate the systems. Everything was organized, labeled, and explained as if the humans had anticipated every question visitors might ask. According to these records, they achieved speeds of approximately 10 light-years per day, Thane reported. That is faster than our current technology by a factor of 3. And they accomplished it within 30 years of their first working prototype. Officer Drake whistled softly, a sound the Calthene made when deeply impressed or disturbed. That is incredible. Most species take thousands of cycles to develop that level of technology. We are talking about a civilization that went from basic radio to faster than light in less than 200 years. They were motivated, Kresh observed. They knew someone was coming. They knew there was a galaxy full of civilizations to meet. That knowledge drove them forward. Vexthar studied the technical schematics floating in holographic detail above the console. The human approach to faster-than-light travel was different from Calthene methods. But the mathematics checked out. The physics were sound. Dangerous perhaps, but functional. Show me the colony data, he ordered. Thane navigated through the archive's files. A massive document appeared. Thousands of pages detailing the human exodus, colony ship manifests, target star systems, terraforming plans, agricultural protocols, medical supplies, education systems, everything needed to rebuild civilization on distant worlds. 3,000 colony ships, Thane read aloud, each carrying approximately 3 million humans. That is 9 billion people. They evacuated their entire species. The scale was staggering. Vexthar had participated in colony missions before, but those involved thousands of individuals at most. Moving billions required organization and resources beyond anything he had imagined possible for such a young species. Look at the timeline. Kresh pointed to a section of the document. They spent 50 years building the fleet. Every nation on Earth contributed resources. They converted their entire industrial capacity to ship construction. The coordination alone would require a level of global cooperation most species never achieve. What about those who wanted to stay? Asked Officer Vane. The vote was 92% in favor of leaving. That means 8% wanted to remain on Earth. What happened to them? Thane searched through the records. She found a section labeled Minority Accommodation Protocol and began reading. They gave them a choice, she explained. Those who wanted to stay could volunteer to maintain the archives and prepare Earth for future visitors. About 100,000 people volunteered for this duty. They lived out their lives caring for the planet, preserving knowledge and ensuring everything was ready for when someone finally arrived. Lisa Coleman was one of them, Drake realized. She stayed behind while everyone else left. She spent her entire life waiting for us, knowing she would never see her own species again. The thought made Vexithar's skin shift to a somber dark blue. What kind of dedication did that require? What kind of sacrifice? To watch your entire civilization depart into the stars, knowing you would die alone on an empty world, just to leave a message for strangers who might never come. Pull up the departure records, Vexthar said quietly. I want to see where they went. A star chart materialized in the center of the room, three-dimensional and detailed. Earth sat in the center, marked in blue. A thick line of red extended from Earth toward the outer rim of the galaxy, splitting into dozens of branches like a tree. Their primary route went in this direction, Thane explained, highlighting the path, away from known coalition space, into regions we have not fully explored. They identified 40 star systems with potentially habitable planets. The plan was to establish colonies in each system, creating a network of human worlds. Vexithar studied the route carefully. It avoided all known coalition territories. The humans had done their research. They knew where not to go, where they would not interfere with established civilizations. That was 300 cycles ago, Drake said slowly. If their technology worked as planned, if their colonies succeeded, then humanity has been expanding for 3 centuries. At 10 light-years per day, they could have reached all 40 target systems within the first year. They would have had 299 cycles to terraform, colonize, and grow. The implications hung in the air like a physical weight. 3 centuries of expansion, 3 centuries of growth, 3 centuries of human civilization spreading across unexplored space. How many humans are there now? Kresh wondered aloud. Thane pulled up population projection models that the archive contained. The humans had calculated various scenarios before departure. Conservative estimates, assuming successful colony establishment and normal population growth, suggest approximately 50 billion humans spread across multiple star systems, Thane said. Optimistic projections go as high as 200 billion if their terraforming succeeded beyond expectations. Vexthar felt dizzy. The Calthene had come to find a young species confined to a single world, ready for guidance and integration into the coalition. Instead, they had discovered that humanity had been spreading across the galaxy for 3 centuries, building an empire, while the coalition remained ignorant of their existence. What else is in these archives? Vexthar asked. What did they want us to know about them? Over the next hours, the team explored the vast database. They found human history from the earliest civilizations to the moment of Exodus. They found art galleries containing millions of paintings, sculptures, and digital works. They found music in every style imaginable. They found literature, philosophy, science, mathematics. They found records of human wars, terrible conflicts that had killed millions, but also records of peace treaties, of cooperation, of humans from different cultures working together toward common goals. They found evidence of environmental destruction, and then evidence of restoration. Humanity had nearly destroyed their own planet before finally learning to live in balance with it. They were not perfect, Vane observed, reading through historical documents. They made terrible mistakes, wars, genocide, environmental collapse. But they learned. They adapted. They grew. That is what young species do, Vexthar said. They stumble, they fall. They hurt themselves and each other. That is why the coalition exists, to guide them through those dangerous early periods. But humanity did not want guidance, Drake said. They wanted freedom. The freedom to make their own mistakes and learn their own lessons. Thane found something else in the archives. A section labeled Messages for the Coalition contained thousands of video recordings. Individual humans, recording personal messages for the aliens they knew would eventually arrive. She played one at random. A young human woman appeared, smiling nervously. Hi, the woman said. My name is Katie Rogers. I am 26 years old and I am going to Colony Ship 17, heading to a planet we are calling New Terra. I just wanted to say thank you for sending that probe, for letting us know we were not alone. It changed everything for us. It gave us hope and purpose. I hope someday we meet you out there. I hope we can be friends, another message. An old human man, his face lined with age. I am Professor Harold Chen. I taught physics at MIT for 40 years. I'm too old to go with the colony ships, so I stayed to help maintain the archives. I want you to know that humans are not abandoning Earth because we hate it. We love our homeworld, but we love the stars more. We cannot help ourselves. It is in our nature to explore. Please understand that. Message after message, thousands of them. Humans of every age, every background, every culture, all saying goodbye to Earth and hello to whatever species might come looking for them. Vexthar felt something unexpected. Respect. Admiration even. These humans had taken an enormous risk. They had bet their entire civilization on their ability to survive in unknown space. They had chosen freedom over safety, adventure over security. It was reckless. But it was also magnificent, Commander, Kresh said hesitantly. What do we tell the Coalition? That was the question, was it not? The Coalition had rules about first contact. Protocols developed over millions of cycles to ensure new species were integrated safely and properly. Humanity had ignored all of it, had taken their own path. Some Coalition members would be angry. Others would be afraid. A species this advanced, this independent, this unpredictable, could be seen as a threat. But Vexthar looked at the messages from humans. He saw their hope, their excitement, their dreams. He saw a species that wanted to explore, to learn, to build something beautiful among the stars. We tell them the truth, Vexthar decided. We tell them that we came looking for Earth's people, and we found that humanity chose their own destiny. We tell them about the archives, about the colony missions, about the path they took into unexplored space. We tell them that somewhere out there, the second day on Earth brought new locations and deeper mysteries. Commander Vexthar had authorized 3 additional landing teams to spread across the planet. One team went to what the humans called Beijing. Another investigated London. The third searched through Moscow. And Thane's original team traveled to a facility buried beneath the mountains of Montana. The coordinates had come from satellite imagery. Deep beneath the rock, sensors detected a massive complex still drawing power from some unknown source. Whatever it was, it had survived centuries while the surface world crumbled slowly around it. Officer Mitchell piloted the landing craft through a narrow valley between snow-covered peaks. The location was remote, far from any major city. Rocky cliffs rose on either side as they descended toward the entrance. There, Kresh pointed, built into the mountain face. A vehicle entrance, large enough for trucks or cargo carriers. The entrance stood open. Heavy blast doors, each 10 meters thick, had been retracted into the mountain. They looked as if they could withstand nuclear weapons. The tunnel beyond disappeared into darkness. That is an invitation, Drake observed. Those doors did not open by themselves. Thane felt a chill run through her body. Someone or something wanted them to enter. But who? The humans were gone. Unless they were not as gone as everyone thought. Weapons ready, she ordered. Stay alert. This could be automated defense systems, or it could be something else entirely. The landing craft moved slowly into the tunnel. Lights flickered on as they advanced, motion sensors responding to their presence after hundreds of cycles of waiting. The tunnel went deep, angling downward into the mountain's heart. After 10 minutes of descent, they emerged into a vast underground chamber. The landing craft's lights swept across the space, revealing a facility that took Thane's breath away. It was huge. The main chamber was easily 200 meters across and 50 meters high. Equipment filled the space in organized rows. Computer banks, storage units, power generators, and in the center, a platform with a single chair facing a massive display wall. The lights in the facility came on fully, revealing everything in stark detail. Unlike the surface cities, nothing here showed signs of decay. The air was climate-controlled. The equipment looked maintained, as if someone might return to work at any moment. How is this possible? Mitchell breathed. 300 cycles and everything still functions. Fusion reactors, Drake reported, examining his sensors. Buried even deeper below us. Enough fuel to run for thousands of cycles, and automation systems to maintain everything. The humans built this place to last. The team exited their craft cautiously. The facility was silent except for the gentle hum of machinery. Their boots echoed on the metal floor as they spread out to investigate. Kresh found the first terminal and activated it. The screen glowed to life, displaying text in multiple languages. She worked quickly, her training in alien computer systems allowing her to navigate the interface. It is a central archive, she reported. Records of human history, science, culture, everything. And look at this. There is a message file set to play when visitors arrive. It is queued up and waiting. Thane moved to her side. Play it. The massive display wall flickered and came to life. A human woman appeared, life-sized and clear. She looked middle-aged by human standards, with dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes were intelligent and kind. She wore a white coat, the kind scientists used in laboratories. Text appeared beneath her image, giving her name and title in Galactic Coalition standard script, a script Earth should not have known. Dr. Lisa Coleman, last administrator, Exodus Archive. The woman smiled sadly and began to speak. The facility's systems translated her words automatically into Calthene language. Hello, she said. My name is Lisa Coleman. If you are watching this message, then you have found Earth long after we departed. First, let me say welcome. We hoped someone would come eventually. We hoped our old radio signals would bring curious visitors to see what became of humanity. She paused as if gathering her thoughts. You are probably confused. You are probably wondering where everyone went. Let me explain. We knew you were coming. Thane felt shock run through her entire body. They knew? How? Lisa continued. About 100 years before you could arrive, we detected your probe. We decoded its data packages. We learned about the Galactic Coalition. We learned that we were not alone in the universe. It was the greatest discovery in human history. The display behind Lisa shifted, showing images of scientists working excitedly around computers. Celebrations in streets, news broadcasts announcing first contact. We were thrilled, Lisa said. We prepared for your arrival. We learned your languages. We studied your culture through the probe's database. We dreamed of the day we would meet you face to face and join the galactic community. Her expression changed, becoming more complex. Not quite sad, not quite apologetic, but something in between. But then we developed faster than light travel. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Thane looked at her team members. They all wore expressions of shock. It happened almost by accident, Lisa explained. A physics experiment designed to test quantum field theories produced unexpected results. Within 20 years, we had a working prototype. Within 30 years, we had viable spacecraft. And suddenly we faced a choice. The display showed images of sleek ships being constructed in orbital facilities. Massive vessels hundreds of meters long with designs that looked both alien and elegant. We could wait for you, Lisa said. According to our calculations, your survey fleet was still 500 years away, traveling at sublight speeds. We could stay on Earth, develop our world, prepare for first contact under Coalition protocols, or we could leave. She walked across the room in the recording, her hands gesturing as she spoke. We debated for 10 years. Governments, scientists, ordinary citizens, everyone had an opinion. Some wanted to wait. They argued that the Coalition had wisdom we needed, that joining the galactic community properly was worth the wait. But others argued that 500 years was too long, that humanity had always been explorers, that we could not sit still for 5 centuries while the galaxy waited to be discovered. Images flowed across the display. Colony ships, thousands of them. Assembly lines building vessels on a massive scale. Entire populations preparing for departure. We held a global referendum, Lisa continued. Every adult human voted. The question was simple. Do we stay and wait or do we go and explore? 92% voted to leave. Thane could hardly believe what she was hearing. An entire species choosing to abandon their homeworld rather than wait for contact. It was unprecedented. It violated every protocol the Coalition had established for first contact situations. I know what you're thinking, Lisa said, as if reading Thane's mind across the centuries. You think we were reckless, foolish, that we threw away the chance to learn from older, wiser species. You are probably right, but you have to understand something about humans. She looked directly into the camera, her eyes intense. We are not patient. We have never been patient. When we see a horizon, we run toward it. When we hear about a mystery, we chase it. When someone tells us something is impossible, we work until it becomes possible. It is not always wise. It has caused us pain throughout our history, but it is who we are. The display showed footage of massive ships launching from Earth, hundreds of them rising into the sky on pillars of light. The evacuation had been systematic and organized. We spent 50 years building the Exodus fleet, Lisa explained. Every nation contributed. Every person had a place. We took 9 billion humans and spread them across 3,000 colony ships. We stripped our orbital stations. We emptied our cities. We left nothing behind but archives and monuments. More images flowed past. Empty streets, dark buildings, the last lights of civilization winking out one by one. We left Earth as a gift, Lisa said softly, a museum of what we were. Everything we knew, everything we created, everything we dreamed, we preserved it here for you. This archive contains our complete history, our science, our art, our mistakes and achievements. We want you to know us even though we could not stay to meet you in person. She brought up a star chart, showing the galaxy with a highlighted path leading away from Earth toward the outer rim. We went that direction, Lisa said, pointing, away from Coalition space. We did not want to disrupt your civilizations or violate your territories. We chose unexplored regions, virgin space where we could build something new, where we could make our own mistakes and learn our own lessons. The chart showed dozens of star systems marked along the path. We planned to establish colonies in 40 systems, Lisa continued. Terraform worlds, build stations, create a network of human civilization spreading across the stars. Maybe we succeeded. Maybe we failed. Maybe we met other species out there. Maybe we found only empty worlds. I will never know. This recording was made during the final days before my own departure. She smiled again, warm but sad. If you follow us, you might find our colonies. You might find that we built something wonderful, or you might find that we overreached and destroyed ourselves. Either way, it will be our achievement or our failure. We had to try. Lisa walked back to face the camera directly. I want to thank you for coming. The landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere with a gentle hum. Science Officer Thane sat in the pilot's seat, guiding the vessel toward the coordinates they had selected. Below them, a massive city stretched across the landscape like a gray and silver web. The humans had called it New York City. "Atmosphere is breathable," reported Officer Kresh from the sensor station. 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, trace gases. "We will need filters for long-term exposure, but the exosuits will handle it easily." Thane nodded, focusing on the landing approach. The city rose up to meet them, and she could see it clearly now. Tall buildings, some reaching 100 stories high, streets laid out in a grid pattern, a river cutting through the center. Parks with overgrown trees, bridges connecting different sections, and not a single light, not a single moving vehicle, not a single sign of life. The landing craft settled onto a wide street. The engines powered down, and for a moment everything was silent. Then Thane activated the exterior cameras, and the team got their first real look at a human city. "It is remarkably intact," said Officer Drake, the team's structural analyst. "I expected more damage after 300 cycles. But the buildings stand straight. The roads are cracked but present. The vehicles are rusted but still recognizable." Thane stood up and moved to the airlock. "Suit check," she ordered. "We go by protocol. Stay together. Document everything. Touch nothing until we understand what we are dealing with." The 6-member team checked their exosuits carefully. The suits would protect them from any biological hazards, provide breathable air, and enhance their strength for moving through debris. Each suit had cameras that transmitted back to the ship, recording everything they saw. The airlock opened, and Thane stepped onto Earth's surface. The street was quiet. Wind blew gently, carrying leaves and dust. The sun felt warm through her suit's sensors. She looked up at the buildings towering above her, windows dark and empty like the eyes of giants who had fallen asleep and never woken. "Spread out," Thane ordered. "Stay within sight of each other. Drake, check the structural integrity of these buildings. Kresh, scan for any data storage devices. Mitchell, look for anything that might tell us what happened here. Everyone, watch for human remains." The team moved forward carefully. Their boots crunched on broken glass and debris. Cars lined the streets, their tires long since rotted away. The metal bodies had rusted but not collapsed. Inside the vehicles, Thane could see steering wheels and seats all empty. Officer Mitchell approached one car and peered inside. "Personal belongings," he reported. "A bag on the passenger seat. Some kind of container in the cup holder, but no bodies, no skeletons, no clothes even." Thane moved to a nearby building. The glass door had shattered long ago, allowing access to the interior. She stepped carefully through the opening into what appeared to be a lobby. A desk stood against one wall. Chairs arranged in a waiting area. Plants, long dead, sat in their pots near the windows. "This was an office building," she said, her voice transmitted to the entire team. "Multiple floors. Elevators here, stairs there. Let me check the directory." A board on the wall listed company names and floor numbers. Law firms, financial advisors, technology companies. All meaningless now, Drake called out from down the street. "I have found something interesting." A store with goods still on the shelves. Thane hurried to join him. The store's windows had broken, but inside, metal shelves still held items. Cans of food, though badly corroded. Bottles that might have held drinks. Packages of various products, the labels faded and unreadable. They did not loot, Drake observed. When civilizations collapse, people take everything. Food, medicine, tools. But here everything remains. As if the humans simply walked away and never came back. Kresh's voice came through the communication system. "I have accessed what appears to be a library 3 blocks north. The team should see this." They regrouped and made their way to the library. It was a grand building with wide steps leading to large doors. Inside, they found exactly what Kresh had promised. Thousands of books lined the shelves on multiple floors. Reading tables sat empty. Computer terminals, long dead, waited at desks. "The books are damaged," Kresh explained, carefully lifting one. The pages crumbled at her touch. "Moisture and time have destroyed many of them. But some are preserved. And look at this." She led them to a special room with climate control that had somehow continued to function, probably powered by solar panels on the roof. Inside this room, books remained in better condition. Thane carefully examined the titles: history, science, literature, art, philosophy. "They kept knowledge," Thane said softly. "They preserved their culture." Officer Vane, the team's cultural specialist, spoke up. "There is a pattern here. Everything I am seeing suggests an orderly departure, not a sudden crisis, not a panic. The humans did not run from disaster. They left deliberately. But why? Drake asked. This planet is perfect for them. The atmosphere is ideal. The temperature is comfortable. Resources are abundant. Why would they leave their homeworld? Thane had no answer. She moved through the library, scanning books into her suit's memory. The team split up, each searching different sections of the city. Hours passed as they documented everything they found. Mitchell discovered a museum. Inside, protected behind reinforced glass, were artifacts from human history. Stone tools from their earliest days, weapons from ancient wars, artwork spanning thousands of years, and in a special wing, something that made Thane stop and stare. Models of spacecraft. But these were not the primitive shuttles the humans had used to reach their moon. These were sleek vessels with smooth lines and elegant designs. The plaques beneath them bore titles like Colony Ship and Deep Space Explorer, and Faster-than-Light Prototype. Thane, Mitchell said quietly. Look at the dates on these displays. She examined the small text carefully. The dates were recent, from just before humanity's disappearance. These were not ancient dreams. These were modern plans. They were building these, Thane realized, or planning to build them. On the walls around the spacecraft models, artwork showed humans spreading across the stars, terraforming distant planets, building cities on alien worlds, walking beneath the light of foreign suns. The images were hopeful, ambitious, full of life and possibility. They dreamed big, Mitchell observed, maybe too big to stay on one world. The team continued their exploration as the Earth's sun began to set. They found schools with textbooks still in classrooms, hospitals with equipment waiting for patients who would never arrive, homes with furniture and personal items undisturbed by looters because there had been no looters. Everywhere they looked, they found the same thing: order, preservation, careful abandonment. As darkness fell, the team returned to their landing craft. They gathered in the main cabin, reviewing the day's findings on holographic displays. No bodies, Drake summarized. No signs of violence. No evidence of disease or environmental disaster. The infrastructure is intact. The buildings are sound. Food was left behind. Everything suggests the humans simply left. But where could an entire species go? Kresh asked. There are no other habitable planets in this system. Their moon has been abandoned too. We detected no massive ships in orbit. Thane pulled up the images from the museum. They were building something, planning something. These spacecraft designs are far more advanced than anything we saw in the old probe data. You think they developed faster than light travel? Drake sounded skeptical. On their own? Without coalition guidance? That takes most species thousands of cycles to achieve. Humans were different, Vane said thoughtfully. The cultural records show a species driven by curiosity and competition. They pushed themselves constantly, took risks, challenged limits. Maybe they developed faster than expected. Thane considered this. It seemed impossible. Young species needed guidance from older races. The technology was too complex, too dangerous. The coalition existed partly to help new species avoid destroying themselves with premature advancement. But what if humanity had not waited for help? Tomorrow we search for government facilities, Thane decided. Military bases, space agency headquarters, research laboratories. If the humans developed advanced technology, there will be records, plans, evidence of their work. The team settled in for the night. Outside, Earth's first moon rose over the silent city, casting silver light across streets where no one walked. Somewhere in the darkness, answers waited. The question was whether the Calthene would understand those answers when they found them. Thane looked out the window at the empty city. The humans had lived here once, millions of them. They had built these towers, walked these streets, filled these buildings with life and energy and purpose, and then they had left it all behind, willingly, deliberately, completely. Why would anyone abandon paradise? What could possibly be worth leaving your entire world behind? Thane had a feeling that when they found the answer, it would change everything. The stars looked different from this side of the galaxy. Commander Vexthar had seen countless worlds during his long career, but something about this system felt strange. The yellow sun burned steady and bright, just like the ancient records had promised. 9 planets orbited in their predictable paths. Everything matched the data perfectly, but Earth was quiet. Vexthar stood at the main window of his ship, watching the blue and green planet grow larger as they approached. His forearms rested against the cold metal railing. His skin shifted color slowly, showing his confusion to anyone who knew how to read Calthene emotions. "Still no signals, Commander," said Officer Kresh from her station. She was younger than Vexthar, only 200 cycles old. This was her first deep survey mission. "I have scanned every frequency we know. There is nothing, no radio, no quantum signals, no data streams, nothing at all." Vexithar clicked his mandibles together, a sound that meant he was thinking hard. "What about heat signatures? Power sources? Anything that shows life?" "The cities are there," Kresh replied. Her fingers moved across the holographic controls, bringing up images of Earth's surface. "Look at this. Massive cities on every continent. Bridges, roads, buildings that touch the clouds. But no heat except from the sun. No lights at night. No movement." Another officer named Thane moved closer to examine the scans. She was the science specialist, trained to understand alien cultures and technologies. "This does not make sense," she said quietly. "A civilization advanced enough to build cities like these would leave traces. Energy signatures, waste heat, chemical markers in the atmosphere. We should see something." Vexthar turned to face his crew. The bridge was filled with 20 Calthene, all experts in their fields. They had traveled for 500 cycles to reach this world. 500 cycles of slow, careful movement through space, following the trail of ancient probes that had detected intelligent life on Earth. "What do the probes tell us?" Vexthar asked. Thane pulled up the old data. "The last probe passed through this system 600 cycles ago. It detected radio signals, primitive space vessels, and evidence of nuclear technology. The humans were in their early space age, perfect candidates for coalition contact. And now?" Vexthar pressed. "And now they are gone," Thane said simply. The word hung in the air like a weight. Gone. An entire species. Vanished without explanation. It had happened before in the galaxy's long history. War could destroy a civilization in days. Disease could sweep across a planet. Environmental collapse could make a world uninhabitable. Asteroid impacts. Solar flares. 1,000 different disasters could end. Intelligent life. But those disasters left evidence, bodies, ruins, radiation, scorched, Earth. Something Earth showed none of these. "Signs, take us into orbit," Vexthar ordered. Standard survey pattern. "I want detailed scans of every city, every structure, every piece of technology we can find. And scan the orbital space too. If they reached their moon, they might have left stations or satellites." The ship moved smoothly into high orbit around Earth. It was a beautiful planet, Vexthar had to admit. Vast oceans covered most of the surface. White clouds swirled in patterns across blue skies. Green and brown continents held the marks of civilization, but also wild spaces where nature had reclaimed the land. "Commander," called out Pilot Mitchell, "I am detecting orbital structures. Multiple satellites in various orbits. They appear inactive." "Show me," Vexthar said. The main display shifted to show dozens of human-made objects circling Earth. Some were small, probably communication satellites. Others were larger, more complex. Mitchell zoomed in on one massive structure. "This appears to be a space station," Mitchell explained. "It is in a decaying orbit. In another 100 cycles it will fall into the atmosphere and burn up. But it is intact, just empty." Vexithar studied the station carefully. It was primitive compared to Calthene technology, but impressive for a species so young. Solar panels stretched out like wings, modules connected in a wheel pattern. Docking ports waited for ships that would never come. "Any bodies?" he asked. "Negative, Commander. The station is completely empty. No life signs, no remains." Kresh spoke up from her station. "I am also detecting debris patterns consistent with old satellites and rocket stages. The humans were active in space for at least a century based on the debris field. Then everything stopped. How long ago did it stop?" Vexthar wanted to know. Thane ran calculations on her displays. "Based on orbital decay patterns, atmospheric absorption of radiation, and the degradation of materials we can detect, I estimate the humans abandoned Earth approximately 250 cycles ago. Maybe 300. It is difficult to be precise. 250 cycles." Vexthar felt a chill run through his body. The humans had been gone for 250 cycles, and the Calthene were only now arriving. If the survey had moved faster, if the coalition had sent ships instead of probes, they might have made contact. They might have welcomed humanity into the galactic community. Instead, they had found a ghost world. "Prepare landing teams," Vexthar ordered. "We need to go down there. We need to search their cities, their buildings, their records. Somewhere on that planet is an answer. Find out what happened to the humans." "Yes, Commander," Kresh said. She began organizing the teams immediately. Vexithar looked back at Earth. From orbit, it looked peaceful, inviting, the kind of world any species would be proud to call home. But something had gone wrong. Something had driven humanity away or killed them, or changed them into something else entirely. He thought about the humans. The old probe data had included some information about them. They were bipedal like many species. They had 2 arms and walked upright. They came in different colors and shapes. They spoke hundreds of languages. They fought wars with each other, but also created beautiful art. They were curious, aggressive, creative, and emotional. They were, in many ways, typical of young spacefaring species. So what had happened to them? "Commander," Thane said softly, "there is one more thing. I have been analyzing the atmosphere. It is clean. Too clean." "Explain," Vexthar said. "Industrial civilizations produce pollution, carbon emissions, chemical waste, particulate matter. These things linger in the atmosphere for centuries. But Earth's air is remarkably pure, as if it has been scrubbed clean, or as if industry stopped long before the humans disappeared." Vexthar considered this. Could they have solved their environmental problems before leaving? Possibly, Thane admitted. Or they cleaned up before departing. If they knew they were leaving. If they knew they were leaving, that implied choice. That implied the humans had not been destroyed but had chosen to go somewhere else. But where? And why? And how? "Land the teams," Vexthar said firmly. "I want answers. The humans left this world behind. They must have left clues as well. Find them." The crew moved with purpose, preparing for the descent to Earth's surface. Vexthar remained at the window, watching the planet slowly rotate beneath him. Somewhere down there, in those empty cities and silent buildings, the truth waited. The Calthine had come looking for Earth's people. They had traveled 500 cycles to make first contact, to welcome humanity into the great community of galactic civilizations. But they were too late. The humans were already gone, and Vexthar had a growing suspicion that discovering where they had gone would change everything the Calthine thought they knew about the universe.